How many of you believe that you were built for more? I know I believe that I'm built for far much more than where I am today. But sometimes life comes around, it may feel like it's beating you up a little bit, and you allow the now to be a predictor of your future. What you're experiencing now is really just a reflection of the past decisions, circumstances, things that have just happened and showed up in your life. And this is a result of it. But the one thing that's so amazing is that we can learn from the now, put on our strategic lens, and determine that we are going to future-proof our business and our lives by making improved decisions, positioning ourselves for opportunity, looking for ways to build rather than implode, to find a reason to celebrate rather than feeling despondent or sorry for ourselves. So today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we can believe and activate that belief system that we are built for more, and using the R3 code to break through barriers and build legacy. I'm LaWanna Bradford, and I have spent the last 30 plus years as a serial entrepreneur assessing the landscapes of businesses, small business, corporations, navigating and helping them to position to remain relevant in changing markets. And in doing so, that gave me, I would say, a little bit of a strategic advantage when it came to my life. But even though I had the knowledge and the skills in which to do all of the right things, right, and assessing the environment, life happens. And the humanity in me came to the surface. And I found myself, like maybe some of you, when life is happening, you're hit with a wave of fear. But what I realized is we can have all the desire and the intention that we want, but if we don't align that with strategic action and application, we're going to find ourselves spinning and spinning and spinning, maybe coming out for a minute, a little bit, and then finding ourselves back in the same situation again and again. It's like, what lesson have I not learned? So this conference here, Leaders Living Generously, in order to live generously, right, and live in abundance, I have to first believe that that abundance and generous life is intended for me. I love what Chris Salem often said. He said, you want to make sure that you give without expectation and receive without resistance. Often we place ourselves in a seat of resisting, right? We're pushing back because we're taught and we really believe it's better to give than to receive. And think about what that does to you psychologically. Think about how your actions start to line up with that you become your own roadblock and barrier to the opportunities that are around you. Well, today, look around. There is a lot of confusion and chaos abounding. Here in the US, people are losing jobs left and right. Major corporations are cutting staff, the fear of AI, political unrest, rising cost of living, concerns about healthcare. The list goes on. And then the trickle down effect, what that does to individuals in business, whether you're self-employed or in the C-suite of a major corporation, you're trying to figure out all of these moving pieces that are moving faster than ever before, almost like popcorn in a microwave. You just pop, 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 pop. Every time you turn around, there's more and more happening. And you're wondering, how do I get control of this? How do I insulate myself from everything that is coming at me from the left and the right? Well, we know we don't want to be in the fear seat, right? We don't want to have the ostrich syndrome in a state of denial. We don't want to be running around frenetically infected with the CLS. And we don't want to be petrified and frozen with the inability to move, the inability to make a decision. We want clarity of thought. And that's what I come to you with today is the R3 code. See, the R3 system is a code that is designed to help you to remain relevant in changing environments. It is a change navigation system. We've got the GPS. This is a change navigation system, and it's designed just for that. And I came up with it during the 2007-2008 mortgage crisis. I have two businesses. One is on the business consulting side of the house, and the other is a commercial investment mortgage company. Well, before we were in the commercial and mortgage space, we were in the residential mortgage space. And any of you who were around in 2007, 2008, you know we had a crisis on our hands. I didn't know how we were even going to survive. Banks were closing to the left and right of us. Brokers, as we were brokers, were hanging up their hats saying, I'm done. Residents were turning the keys back in to their lenders. We call them jingle letters because they said, I can't pay this mortgage anymore. But I knew, see, this is the thing, when you have clarity in what your purpose is, I knew we were meant to be in the mortgage space. And I started to question when everything's happening, I'm thinking, maybe I kind of missed the purpose mark here. And I said, well, if we were meant to stay here, then I need to know how I navigate these waves of change, because the waves are coming. The tsunami episodes are coming, right? How do we learn how to not only tread water, but learn how to ride the crest of the wave or stay in front of the wave? But the last thing we want, the last thing you want, is to be overtaken by the wave. How do we do that? Well, that's where the R3 comes in. It's understanding the concepts of refocus, reframe, and reconnect. Now, I'm going to get back to that formula of success. And I want to tell you a little bit more about my story. So as I mentioned, we have this mortgage crisis, and we had 13 employees, which I was trying to hold on to. It's like, I don't want to let them go. We're going to find a way to make ends meet, to keep everyone gainfully employed while the world is just in a state of unknown, uncertainty, kind of like we are in today, right? And I did what you should never do. I robbed from my future to take care of the now. I took my retirement and I said, I can start helping to offset the expenses of the business. Well, eventually, because things weren't getting any better out in the marketplace, I had to let them all go anyway. So not only did I have to let my employees go, but unfortunately, that healthy retirement was down to $7,800. Now what do I do? Well, things got even worse for me. And some of you may be in that situation now. Perhaps you've lost a job. Maybe you've lost a major government contract. Stakeholder relations are not as strong as they want. Maybe a partner is making an exit. Maybe your customers are really dissatisfied, or that product didn't land the way you wanted it to land. There's a lot going on. And back then it was no different. And so I had to go to my mother and father, and many of you may have heard this story before, and there was no shame in my game. I needed help. I wanted to make sure I kept a roof over my head. And how was I going to do that? I already told you all of my means I had basically liquidated. And so my parents came in and they said, we will take care of you. We will make sure that you have that roof over your head. You're going to have that food in your belly. Your lights are going to stay on. But my father was very clear. He said, I know you've got this business and you're trying to keep it afloat, but that's going to be on you. Don't expect us to come and save that. We want to make sure you, the person, our daughter, is okay. And that's a good feeling, right? When you know you have something, a safety net. But often many don't have that safety net. And things start to spiral even more. I ended up getting sued by Chase Bank because back then banks were calling notes due. It didn't matter how great you were, how well you were in your payments, how long your history had been. They were in a state of crisis too. So they started calling things due. And I'm like, okay, this is not a good situation. I go to mom and dad again, and they were like, what did you not understand about what we told you? And then this is what's so great. and I want you to lean in. Coaches, mentors, consultants, there are going to be resources and guides that are placed around you during those critical, pivotal moments in your life and in your business. But the thing is, you have a choice whether you're going to lean in and listen or try to allow your pride to block them out and do things on your own. Well, my mom didn't raise a fool, so I'm like, okay, I need to find someone who's been here and can kind of help me navigate this water, because this lawsuit is no joke. And a good friend of mine had gone through something similar, not quite the same, but similar. And he told me, I can show you what you need to do to represent yourself in court. Okay. And we went through everything, and I practiced, and I was able to represent myself comfortably in court against Chase Bank. And I'm happy to say I won. I won because I had the belief that I was built for more. I had the belief that even when the giant was facing before me, just like David and Goliath, I believed that I had the right rock in my slingshot to take that giant down. And I want you to know that the R3 code is the right rock in your strategic slingshot to help you bring any giants around you down and to create an environment that insulates you so that you can maximize your opportunities for success. And I began to sit and think about just life and looking at things in patterns, because as a strategist, we tend to look at the pieces, we look at the puzzle, we look at the moves. And I realized that in all of these situations, there were opportunities. There were moves that I could make, some that were more to my advantage than others. And that's when I began to think about what each move meant. And that's the birth of the R3 system, which I want to share with you today. And I want you to lean in, because if you haven't gone through challenges in your business, you will. If you're going through challenges now, don't worry, because the R3 system is a strategic code. It's a proprietary code that I developed that is designed to help insulate you during times of radical change. See, disruption is not something that may happen again. It will happen again. We're in a society of disruption. That's the course that we're on. And if we know that, the question is, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to position yourself to remain relevant during disruptions, during cycles of change? The first R is refocus. Refocus is not a mindset piece. Often people confuse that and say, LaWanna, that must be all about mindset. It's not. It has everything to do with being situationally aware of your environment, aware of all the pieces at play in your environment. So when we think about the business landscape, you're thinking about your products, your pricing, your position, the market you sit in, the industry leaders, your customer, your supplier relations, your stakeholder relations, your partnerships, your financial backing, the infrastructure it sits on, the technology. You're looking at all of this and you're assessing where things may be strong, where things may be weak, how things interface with one another, what things are driving other factors. You're becoming very aware. That's the refocus part. And I want to really emphasize this. Some people think, oh, refocus, reframe, reconnect. It sounds so simple and so easy. Fundamentally, logically, we think, I got that. But it takes someone who knows the art of navigation to help you understand how to artfully and strategically navigate and build insulating pockets around your business and its operation. It's like saying, I can do this, right? Hand me the keys to the car. I've seen someone drive a car before. I got it. Put the ignition the key in the ignition, or if it doesn't need a key, it come, hit the ignition, right? And the car starts. And I just drive. And I've never driven before. Would you do that? Probably not. Why? Because there's rules of the road that you need to know. We want to avoid that because, again, all these uncontrollable variables and things are happening to us and around us. How do we rise up above that, beyond that? The second R is reframe. So you are the architect of your life, of your business. And you have to be able to put on, again, as I mentioned before, your strategic lens. In today's marketplace, you have to have strategic foresight in how you do business. See, I have years, as I said, working as a serial entrepreneur, working as a dualpreneur, working in multiple industries for many corporations, government agencies, as a strategist, as a financial analyst, understanding the nuances of business, the uncontrollable variables and what needs to be put in place. But I realize that in business, there's always those opportunities to reinvent, reimagine, recreate. When you're doing that, you're helping to future-proof your business. So that's the reframing lane, is reimagining how you want your life, how you want your business to look, to run, and designing it in detail, crystallize it from your price point to the avatar of your clients, to the market you operate in. Be so clear. And if you realize that you have this lane that you designed, you also realize that no one competes in your lane but you, because you designed it. It's your game, it's your lane. You created the rules. And as George Fraser says, Dr. George Fraser, if something or someone is in your lane that you don't want there, then you bless and release them. Now, the third R is reconnect. And that is the most challenging thing for so many people, because once you've understood all the pieces and the nuances of them and how they drive and impact one another, and you've redesigned your lane, now you have to come in with a mindset and with a belief to dust yourself off, to look at challenges in the face and be willing to defy the odds, find the opportunity in the chaos, and be willing to translate those stumbling blocks into stepping stones and step back into the game that you designed and be determined to win. That's the R3 system. So again, looking at things systematically in the ecosystem of your business, the blueprint, redesigning what it's going to look like, the reimagined world of your business. And then finally, the mindset and the people and the buy-in and the values and everything that constitutes the heartbeat that's needed to move that business forward. Well, again, as I mentioned, it's not as simple as driving a car. And if I may, I want to give you a very quick example of what the R3 system in action looks like. Now, how many of you have heard about Disney? Everyone knows Disney, right? Mickey, Minnie? Yes. The amazing thing about Disney is Disney went through iterative processes of change because life happened. And Walt Disney and then post-Walt advisors were able to identify trends and position themselves to take advantage of the trends and in times be trendsetters and trailblazers. Disney is 102 years old. It was founded in 1923. It's an animation film company. Well, Mickey didn't come onto the scene until 1927. And then the first full-length animation film, Snow White, which we've all heard of, in the Seven Dwarfs, didn't come on board until 1937. Almost 10 years later. And sometimes as we're building our legacy, It may take time. So don't get frustrated in the process. Trust the process. But that unexpected thing called World War II happened. And suddenly Disney finds itself not in demand anymore. People didn't want to go and watch animation films. They were concerned about the war effort and our men and women who were abroad. And so what did Disney do? Again, a situation that they could not control. They said, well, we do film. So let's go and propose to the government that we can do training films and we can do propaganda films supporting the war efforts. Those propaganda films were the way that the masses received their news about what was going on, right? So when you think about our mass media today, that didn't exist back then. So this was an innovative way that Disney was able to position themselves. So my question to you, are you looking around at innovation that you can step into to tailor your business in a unique way that creates a demand that was not yet there? Now let's go on with the story. So World War II is over. Now what is Disney going to do? Well, Walt had an idea that he wanted to bring joy back into the community. And so he created Disney World. And the world of entertainment has never been the same. He did something so bold and so big. And sometimes in order to be built for more, you have to want more and do more and go bold, big, and beautiful colors unapologetically and just show up and expect the best. Well, the rest is history, right? But then in 1982, Walt Disney didn't live to see this, but he had already futurescaped Disney World and Epcot. And the amazing thing about this is how advanced in his thinking he was, how forward thinking he was in globalization, in protecting our green space, preserving our beautiful planet, cultural inclusivity, diversity. That's all the part of Epcot. And then we entered into the digital age. And what did Disney do? Disney began to partner. So sometimes you think, I want to do this all by myself. No, look for those strategic partners. Leverage the resources around you. So they partnered with Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, Star Wars, all together. Now look at the power of that unity when we're looking at entertainment. Now, did Disney stop there? No, they didn't. In 2019, they founded Disney Plus, a streaming platform that has all of those components that I mentioned: Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilms, and National Geographics. Again, leading the charge when it comes to touching multiple generations now. So Disney going from the traditional animation to touching multiple generations. Now, the one thing I want to tell you is you can do this too, because when World War II came, Disney was still considered a small business, but it didn't let the war effort thwart its efforts. It didn't allow the war effort to interrupt the vision. They just had to reimagine it. And now today, as we're in the AI age, Disney is still out there leading with its robotics and its theme parks, increasing and improving the interactive experience with artificial reality and much, much more. I want to encourage you, wherever you are in your business lane, to think about how you, in spite of change, can reposition yourself to remain relevant by applying the core principles of the R3: refocus, reframe, and reconnect. Thank you so much for just your time during this amazing conference. I want to offer you a special gift. If you go to my website, LaWannaBradford.com, and click on consultation session, you can schedule a free 20-minute consult with me, and you would be amazed at what we can get done in 20 minutes. And we're going to challenge you to think creatively and innovatively, to be ready to future-proof your business so that you can not only believe that you were built for more, that you can live it in living color, a more powerful, impactful, influential life. Because the point is all about breaking those barriers, breaking through those limits, and building legacy. Thank you so very much. I'm LaWanna Bradford, and just remember that in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. Be safe and be well.